This video will look at how to answer a leisure question 4. So it's always going to be an explain question. It's 9 marks, 9 minutes long, and roughly about 4 paragraphs in length. Now, there's not really a set way to lay this out. So as long as you include context and 3 reasons to help you explain, it doesn't really matter. So in the sample answers later on, I've shown you a variety of ways you can answer the question while still getting full marks. So you're being asked to explain something, and this means you'll have to say why something happened with evidence. And of course, you must include context. So like I just said, the table is a kind of rough structure of how you might want to lay out your answer, but it's not necessarily essential that you do it just like that. Okay, so we will do this question all together. Explain why spectator sport grew in popularity in the second half of the 19th century. That's for 9 marks. We're going to box our command word, which is explain. Underline our key features, which are spectator sport grew in popularity in the second half of the 19th century. And we're going to glare at the hints, which is just the marks. And I've also highlighted the fact that it's the 19th century and the second half of it. The second half of the 19th century is 1850 to 1900. So make sure you know your centuries for this leisure unit. In terms of context, for the 1800s, I'm thinking Industrial Revolution. I'm thinking about new technologies and new venues, particularly with spectator sport. More leisure time and the birth of professional sport. Those are all things that are happening in the late 1800s. And for my 3 reasons, I've actually come up with 4. So I thought about the Industrial Revolution and the idea that they've got more free time because they've moved to shift patterns. They've got more spending money because a lot of them have got jobs. There are these new venues, and of course you've got these professional teams that lead to popularity. And that is absolutely crucial. You only get 2 marks for knowledge here, but the other 7 marks, is about being able to explain why it leads to an increase in popularity of spectator sport. So it's essential that you use the wording of the question, hence why we do the bug method.
In the second half of the 19th century, spectator sport grew a lot. People wanted to escape the pollution of the city caused by the Industrial Revolution and enjoy time with their friends and family. Due to the fact there were factories, people now worked less hours and produced more goods. This meant that they have more free time as the work was non-skilled and shift-based, so work patterns were reliable and repeatable. This meant spectator sports grew in popularity because with their regular free time, they could use it to participate and watch spectator sport nearby. They also had more spending money. This was caused by the fact that with more goods produced, prices fell and allowed people to save more of their income. Because life was so difficult, extra money was spent on leisure activities to make the most of their free time. This meant spectator sports were popular because people had more money to spectate or pay for a train fare to see them. In the late 1800s, the idea of professional teams also came about. Athletes were being paid broken time payments by their teams to cover the time they lost at work, and matches were being played at purpose-built venues which were popular because they created a rich atmosphere. If people played a match of football with their friends, they would find it entertaining to go and watch the best football players in a professional league. To summarize, spectator sport became more popular because of more free time and disposable income, the nature of their jobs being shifts, and the rise in purpose-built buildings and professional teams, which led to a sense of competition.
You'll now see some practice questions and then some sample answers, which will also be followed by a mark scheme. Explain why crawl sports became more popular in the 16th to 19th centuries. Explain why music halls and glee clubs became less popular in the late 19th century. Explain why computer games became more popular in the 1980s and 1990s.
Cruel sport grew in popularity greatly between the 16th and 19th centuries through sports such as bear and bull baiting, cockfighting, hunting, mob football and bare-knuckle boxing. Life for most people was challenging and they were very poor, with 20 to 30% living on the edge of starvation. In the 16th century it was common for people to become vagrants and rely on charity for assistance. Even in the 19th century, working conditions of the Industrial Revolution were terrible and many fell ill in the crowded cities. Cruel sport acted as an escape. It allowed people the chance to forget about the tough lives they lived and enjoy entertainment. Because their lives were so bad, cruel sport did not seem that terrible by comparison. Betting also increased popularity as it allowed a social element to the events. Betting on cockfights and bear baiting was very common. These often took place in purpose-built buildings like the Bear Garden in the Elizabethan era, which added the drama of the event. Lastly, cruel sports were affordable. Those with little money watched from afar, and the wealthy or gambling men were closer to the action. Sometimes it was even free to go and watch these events, so it was something everyone could access, therefore making cruel sports popular. Cruel sport had risen in popularity greatly between the 16th and 19th century, mainly due to its affordability and ease of access, but also as a reflection of the tough lives led by the general population. Music halls and glee clubs were a very popular form of entertainment in the early to mid 19th century. The popularity of Saturday night sing-alongs led to performances being staged 2 to 3 times a week, which went on until the early hours of the morning, and men were known to drink and sometimes throw drinks at the performers. The nudge-nudge wink-wink theme of shows in Canterbury Hall were very appealing to male audience. The stars were the singers like George Robey, but it was women who frequently topped the bill. Marie Lloyd became the queen of the music hall. Music halls were also popular as a form of affordable entertainment. Song and supper rooms made dinner and a show affordable for all. Also, music halls were nicely decorated and pleasant to visit. However, music halls fell in popularity for a few reasons. A major factor was a change in entertainment, as people liked the unique sound of choral societies rather than listening to a single singer. Theatres by the end of the 19th century were quite luxurious and were patronized by middle-class visitors and those who wanted to get into that class, so music halls fell in popularity as they were seen as common. Another factor for the decline of the music hall was affordability. People wanted value for money for their entertainment. With the Industrial Revolution coming to an end in the late 1800s, many people had more money to spend on entertainment and were willing to use this in different ways. Traveling to places like Blackpool and the seaside were very popular, as well as the introduction of motion picture talkies drew audiences away from the music hall. To summarize, music halls and glee clubs declined in popularity because of changes in class tastes as well as affordability and new technologies that would gradually take over. Video games became popular in the 1980s for several reasons, including developments in technology, decline of outdoor play and improved graphics. The 1980s was a part of the tech boom where manufacturers were producing larger TVs, computers and other electronics. In addition, these new technologies became more affordable for families to own, increasing the popularity even more. These developments included larger TVs, the videocassette recorder, VCR, and video game consoles such as the Sony PlayStation. The tech boom also gave way to the decline in outdoor play. Children and adults found a new form of leisure in the home by watching TV, using the home computer, and playing video games. Children especially liked the appeal of new technologies and spent more time indoors, rather than outside playing. Video games also became more popular due to improved graphics catching the attention of users. Early games such as Pong were not very interactive, however. With improved graphics in games such as Super Mario, Pac-Man, Donkey Kong, Sonic and Final Fantasy saw sales rise. Popularity increased so much that dedicated arcades began to appear in shopping malls, where parents could drop off their children while they did their weekly shopping.